Welcome back to another Double D Express with Dr. Doug, where I'm going to express my thoughts on toxic topics in pop culture. A dialogue, not a debate. Somebody loses a debate, nobody wants to be a loser. And be sure to click on that subscribe and like button, all right? So what's the topic today, all right? Are you ready? The jury of your peers. Now that doesn't sound very toxic, but if you think of it as the court of public opinion, now that's toxic, right? What a mumbling crowd. What are they saying about you? What are they saying about me? What's their mood? All right? What can I do to defend myself? See, that's where we get into a public trial where we don't have any control. And that doesn't feel good. It's a trial by ordeal, all right? The mobocracy, right? It's rule by the mob, brutal. The most famous trial by ordeal? Yeah, Jesus, right? Prove you didn't use Beelzebul, Lord of the Flies, and the demons to do your miracles. Prove a negative. See, that begs the question. It implies guilt and determination of guilt, which results in a presumption of guilt, which means you're guilty until proven innocent. It's a rigged trial. Give us Barabbas! Crucify him! The same is true of medieval midwives. Prove that you didn't use your magic to save some children and kill others, to save some mothers and kill others. And since you can't prove a negative, well, you get burned at the stake because you're guilty until proven innocent. Well, who wants that kind of jury trial? Let's smash that. Goes to celebrity public trials in the present, okay? There's that mob again following them, right? Two very famous celebrity trials. O.J. Simpson. He was charged with murder of his wife and her boyfriend at the time. Casey Anthony, charged with the murder of her daughter. They're show trials, all right? They're suspects because they're suspicious of having done some criminal act. The appearance of guilt becomes presumption of guilt. Indictments become convictions. Charges become evidence. And you're guilty until proven innocent, right? Well, wait a minute. What about their rights? What about their due process, right? In the end, both were found not guilty. The mob, angry mob, became a murmuring crowd. Wait, how did that happen? I mean, didn't we have them dead? The rights, we had them guilty. We had indictments as convictions and charges as evidence. They're guilty. It's because they were tried by the jury of their peers, okay? And that becomes the topic, the jury of your peers, okay? And there they are. They're sitting in the jury booth, all right? I've been in 3 jury pools. I've been instructed by 3 honorable judges what it means to be a jury of one's peers, all right? And I've taught logic and philosophy courses in law and justice to lawyers, hopefully future lawyers, all right? We were all given the same point in the beginning. The defendant sitting before you sees you as the jury of his peers. You must see him for what you might be one day, a defendant. And how would you want to be judged as a defendant? It's not about emotion. It's not about reciprocity. It's about reciprocity. In effect, instead of one defendant, there are 13. The defendant and the 12 jurors that see themselves as what they might be one day, a defendant. On the other side, there you go, boom, that's what we want. Finale. On the other side is a prosecution. They are burdened with all the proof to bring evidence, to support the charges, to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the line that's left out of almost every discussion of the court of public opinion. Well, what is reasonable doubt? We want justice, okay? Reasonable doubt. there were two helpful metaphors for us to understand what reasonable doubt is. It's not possible doubt. That's like everything's possible. No, and it's not a feeling, and it's not a belief, all right? It must be something that stands to reason. Two metaphors. The weakest link. Once you break the weakest link in the chain, the whole chain is broken. The whole prosecution's case is broken. Or the one bad apple. One bad apple spoils the whole bushel. Nobody wants to buy the bushel with a rotting apple oozing all over the good apples, okay? It goes in logic to fallacies, flaws in an argument that discredit the conclusion. It's not quantitative, it's qualitative. Once you have the weakest link broken, once you have a bad apple that spoils the whole bushel, you have reasonable doubt to throw out the case, all right? It discredits the conclusion of guilt. Any doubt, any uncertainty, any confusion goes to reasonable doubt. Or, boom, the prosecution's case is destroyed, okay? As I like to call it, it's the Johnny Cochran rule. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. All right, it came up on the O.J. Simpson trial, but it works for every trial. All right, for O.J., one glove that just wouldn't fit was all the reasonable doubt the jury needed to give him a not guilty verdict. With Casey Anthony, it was all circumstantial evidence. It's like a big circle, everything going right, but nothing that connected her to the decayed body in the bag they found in the woods. No DNA, no fingerprints, no cause of death. In the end, the jury said not guilty due to reasonable doubt, all right? Now, I struggled with both of these verdicts as a husband and a father, but in the end, I had to come back to my instructions. What would I want as a defendant? How would I want to be judged by my jury? Would I want the appearance of guilt to be treated as a presumption of guilt? No! I would want them to protect my presumption of innocence. Would I want circumstantial evidence to be treated as absolute? No! Circumstantial is not connected to me directly. I want them to go with not guilty. Would I want reasonable doubt treated as reasonable argument? No! I want reasonable doubt to go to my not guilty. And in the end, I too voted not guilty due to reasonable doubt, okay? Better to set 9 guilty people free than to send one innocent person to prison. Because would I want to be that innocent person? No. Now people go, well, wait a minute. See, they're mumbling. What do you mean by that, Dr. Doug? Well, I said better to set 9 guilty people free because you might be the one innocent person you don't want to go to prison, okay? You got to think about that in every trial, whether you're in the jury or the public of court opinion. You got to think about that. As a defendant, how would I want to be judged? Now, how is this justice? Okay. Scales of justice, right? We got Lady Justice there, blindfolded, not blinded. She's holding scales that are perfectly balanced, which are symbols of no bias, no prejudice. Now, why a female? Why not a male? Males are reasonable. Well, because males can also be filled with anger and vengeance. So the female seems to be treated more for fairness, all right? And it's not even Greek. It really goes back to the Egyptians and their scales of justice in the Book of the Dead. How did he get to the afterlife? Now here the guy by the scales is being judged. His heart on the left is being judged against the feather of truth on the right. And his heart must be lighter than a feather. Well, how can that happen? Well, it goes back to poetry. What does it mean for someone to be lighthearted? Well, it means they're good-natured, they're happy people, they're joyful people, because they have a clear conscience. What does it mean to have a heavy heart? Well, they must have done bad deeds. They must be guilty of something. The same holds true here. A light heart will be lighter than a feather. And you see Anubis, the jackal god of mummification, he is actually pulling on the feather side to make the feather heavier than the guy's heart. He wants them to go into the afterlife. Now, it turns out that in the court system, The same is true for the defendant, all right? The scales are tilted in favor of the defendant, right? You got presumption of innocence, all reasonable doubt. That's the way the trial starts, like this. And the prosecution has to try and bring it together. But if he can't, then it goes to not guilty due to reasonable doubt, okay? Justice. And who doesn't want that if you're the innocent person, okay? Now, where am I going with all this? Well, are you ready? Yep, the Trump trials. The court of public prejudice. There's that angry mob again, stoked up by the media, right? Instead of a court of public opinion, it's public prejudice, right? Hate, anger, indictments are guilty convictions, charges or evidence. You're guilty until proven innocent, right? Until your name goes here. And if it's you, is that what you want in your trial by the jury of your peers? Stop, children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. That's right. What if you're the one going down? Is that the way you want to feel? Okay? So, wrapping it up, and there's the mob again, right? You got to have that one. And there's the media prejudice. Don't be a pawn of the media, okay? Here we are, another Double D Express with Dr. Doug. Thanks for listening. Don't be used by the press. How do you want to be judged is what you must always be thinking, all right? Click that subscribe and like button. And until my next espresso, see you then.